Hello, everyone. I'm Raj Lakshmi. I'm from Bangalore. I'm also popularly known as Story Auntie. I started doing storytelling since 3 years. Earlier, I was working with NGOs. Yes. Today, I'm going to tell you the story about The Old Man and the Sea. It's written by Ernest Hemingway. Santiago, a man in his 70s, was every day on the sea with his boat and with his oars. He would go fishing. That was the only thing he did all his life, every day, just go fishing. Yes, he knew nothing but fishing. And he had an apprentice by name Manolin. He was a little boy. His parents had advised him that he should be trained under Santiago because he was the oldest fisherman and the best fisherman they had ever known. But now, since it's been 84 days, Santiago had not caught a fish, not a single one. Every day he would go into the water and come empty hands. So his parents, Manolin's parents, had told him, "It's not enough. This is not the way you could learn fishing. Looks like Santiago does not have the spirits now to go into the water and to get done fishing. I think you should stop going to him. We will look for a new person who can train you." But the young boy, Manolin, was in love with Santiago. He loved to share his experiences. And both of them were great baseball fans. They would discuss a lot of news about the latest baseball happening around. So this was happening in the Gulf Stream in the northern Cuba. He lived in a small fisherman's village just by the sea. And all the villagers, the hamlet, everybody would go for fishing. So now everybody spoke in the village. Is it worth Manolan goes to seek guidance with Santiago? Oh, it's been quite a long time, 84 days, and he's not caught a single fish. How do you think the boy would get trained under him? Does he have the spirits? Does he still have the vigor to go into the sea and get hold of fish? What is it? What is happening? Secretly, though his parents and the villagers would not want him to go to Santiago, this little boy would go to him early morning, give him coffee, newspaper, and discuss about the baseball news that's happening around. He would secretly go, but his parents would not want it to. So both of them, on the 84th day, they discuss. They say, hey, little boy, you may not come to the sea tomorrow, but I'm going all alone. I'm going deep into the waters, as much deeper as I've never gone. I would not know what would happen to me, but I'm not coming home without a fish. Yes, fish so that I could sell in the market. Fish that could give me some money. All that fish. I am not going to come empty hands. He said so. And then the next day morning, even before the sun could rise, he took off his boat, kept a lot of lines ready and a lot of bait to throw it into the sea. He took his oars in his little boat that he had all his lifetime gone. He just started off even before the sun could rise. And you know how his everyday morning started? He pushed off into the waters. Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Yes, he started going into the sea. Slowly and slowly, slowly. Almost half the sea. He could see. He had no luck. By now, he had thrown almost 50 lines. Couldn't get anything, not even a single fish. The sun was hitting him. Now, in some time again, as he went deep inside into the waters, it was almost evening and he was very hungry. He said, "Do I have to get something to eat? And do I have to go back before the sun comes down?" So he was very confused. Still, he said, "I'm not going to go home without fish. I'm here to fight. I have the spirits. I want to show to the hamlet that Santiago still has the strength, the vigor to go into the waters As long as he can, he will do it. That was his determination. And he said, very skillfully this time, he said, he looked around in the water here and there. He could see some bubbles coming in the corner of his little fish. Yes, he had a small boat, I'm sorry. In the corner, there were some bubbles coming. He made his line ready with a little bait, very skillfully dropped it into the waters. Yes, the still waters made no sound, but he could see some bubbles coming out with no little sound or no little music. So he skillfully put his line into the water, and then he said, he thought he was just about to remove it, then he heard, he pulled up his string and he could find it was very heavy. Yes, looks like, he said, he must have got a fish. He tried to pull out his line very carefully, it was too heavy. He gave up. He said, I'm just going to, he stood still for a moment and said, I think I cannot do it. But then he said, I'm not going to lose. I'm challenging myself that I'm not going home without a fish. Very skillfully, with all his strength and vigor, he tried to pull his line. Yes, with great strength, with his mind determined, saying, I'm going to take it home. He pulled it very strongly, very stiffly. He was an old man. Imagine 75-year-old man in the waters. He tried to pull it. The fish was marlin, the biggest fish in the sea. It is said marlin was around 150 to 180 kilos it weighed. And this fish, for the first time he had caught in his life, he said, do you think I'm going to give up? He would not give up. He said, I'm going to take this along. He tried to pull his best. His hands, his fingers started bleeding. Blood started oozing because it was so strong, stronger than he had imagined. He had no strength at that age to pull this big fish. But since he was a fighter and he had promised himself he would not give up, still he would not give up. And then he very closely held it as tight as he could. And even with his bleeding hands and fingers, he tried to pull it along. The fish on the other side was stronger than him. He wanted to escape. He swam here, there, here, left, right, here, thither, everywhere, trying to escape, move here and there. Meanwhile, Santiago said, oh, fish, I know, my brother, you want to live, but even I want to get you. I feel sorry for you, but I'm not going to give up. Yes, I've told myself I'm going to fight today. And he pulled it along, with all his strength. He finally got it, pulled his line, and then sat down there and then tied the corner of the boat very strongly, tied to the corner of the boat. Then the fish started to shake and he wanted to escape from the line, the bait, but he couldn't. He was so tired. Santiago was so tired, and the fish, both of them were tired. Santiago said, I love fishing though, but fishing kills me. But today, I'm not going to give up. This is going to be my food. I'm going to sell it in the market. And then he tied it very strongly another time, and one more knot, and said, because the fish was moving here and there, he removed his harpoon. He had a very sharp edge, just gave once. He just pushed it inside marlin. Marlin was hurt and blood started oozing from the fish. Then there were some sharks. I'm sure they smelled the blood of the fish, could have come closer. By then, Santiago was so tired. He was exhausted. He just couldn't do anything. He said, I cannot. Just he lied down. He sat down on his boat and he was very hungry. Still, from one of his hand, he pushed his hand inside the water, caught hold of a tiny fish, just had it raw. And he said, I think I just need rest now. Just slept in the boat, gave up, slept on the boat for some time. We do not know. The next day morning, the whole night he's been in the waters. And the next day morning, he got up. As he got up, the sun was hitting him. He looked at the sun and said, oh, What's this? And then he realized the whole night he's been on the sea. The whole night he's been on the sea. And then he was exhausted. He just took his oars, and went back to the shore. He went back to the shore very slowly. And it was almost half a day. The sun was on his head. He just dropped his fish there at the shore and then walked into a small hut on the banks, just crashed on the bed. He didn't know what had happened, nothing. He just crashed on the bed. When all this happened, meanwhile, the whole village had gathered on the shore and they could see. Is this Santiago's boat? They said. And they said, what has happened? Where is Santiago? And imagine, meanwhile, there was just a very long bone from one corner of the boat to the other corner of the boat. The tail and only the head of the boat was hanging. There was no flesh. Yes, all the fish, the shark in the sea had eaten away the flesh of this marlin, the biggest fish, and there was just a bone dangling onto his boat. People were surprised and in awe. They said, oh, what a brave soul. Is Santiago the one who caught this fish? We have never seen such a big one. And what happened to the meat? They were all surprised and they said, the fish must have eaten. The whole night he's not home. That means he was on the sea. Does it mean Santiago still has the strength? Is he not going to give up? Looks like he believes. Santiago believed. Man cannot be defeated. Yes, Santiago believes he can never be defeated. Looks like he is a brave man. At this age, what strength and vigor and determination to go along the sea, to fight with the sea and the fish, and to get such a huge one. Even after 84 days, he had the courage to go all alone and get marlin, the biggest fish. Meanwhile, when all this was happening, his apprentice Manolin saw the fish and he was happy, amazed. He said, oh, this is Santiago. Has he caught marlin? As people saw, he ran into his hut and saw Santiago had crashed on his bed. He was tired. His head was down on the bed and he could see nothing. He went very close to him and saw in case if Santiago was alive. Yes, he heard his breath and he said, I think Santiago is still alive. I still can learn from him. His experience is going to teach me a lot of things. He's going to be my guide. Yes, he ran inside and said, I should get some coffee. Meanwhile, he came back and said, no, I think he must be tired. Let him take rest. But he could not resist himself. He said, Santiago, are you asleep? Are you asleep? What happened? Where were you last night? What happened? Did you really get marlin? The whole village is surprised and they're awed. Yes, they are in awe to see that you have such big fish bone hanging on your boat. They all are in appreciation to you. And my parents have agreed to come with you to learn fishing and the life skills. I'm going to be with you forever and ever. Yes, he said so. And he came out and sat on the beach. Meanwhile, Santiago was on his bed and he dreamt of he walking along the African forest with lions fighting behind. And he ran and he saw the lions fight with each other. That was his dream. And he always loved to dream of the wild animals in the forest. And he had a good sleep. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done. So what does the story mean to you, Raji?
If after a little analysis that I made and the study that I did before I could tell the story, I discovered, I think the Hemingway wrote this book after the First World War. And he felt people had lost hope People had given up everything in life. So, in that atmosphere, in that environment of where the world was going through a kind of a depression, he wrote this book saying, whatever let happen, man will not give up. He will come back. He will fight back. That was the theme he wanted to tell his readers. Yes, I feel Santiago was old, but he never wanted to feel defeated. He said, I'm going to win always, and I'm going to fight out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this was one of Hemingway's last works, and to me, I am thinking that catching that big fish represented to him writing another great novel,
Okay.
and he wanted to show the world and himself that he could still do it, even
Yes.
though he was getting older.
Yes.
And he did it. It's one of his most beloved stories.
Yes. He won a Nobel Prize for this story. Yes, The Old Man and the Sea. He won a Nobel Prize here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any thoughts? Go ahead, Susan Ida.
Just a lovely story about perseverance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what stays with me about that story.
Yes. Yeah.
And to prove that one is not washed up.
Yes. Yeah.
I also want to say I appreciate just the impulse to retell the story of a novel as a story.
Yeah.
And this one was a great choice for that, and it worked nicely.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is going to be a theme of the workshop I'm going to give in February. And you illustrated my point very well, Raji, in that you really fully digested the story and decided on a basic theme that you saw in it, and then you told the story in to bring out that theme.
Mhm.
So that's
Thank you, Eric, for all the training that you gave me the other day. I know we
Mhm.
worked out 3 days back. You did help me how to go about and how do I present the story. Thank you for all the tips.
Sure. Who else had their go ahead? Karen, go ahead.
Yes, I was very impressed because there's one scene, one very long scene on the boat fighting against the fish. And it was so exciting. Thank you very much, really, for one scene in that exciting way.
Thank you. Yeah.
May I say thank you for your enthusiasm. I really appreciated the way that you could see how the story was motivating you to carry on like a wave.
What is that sound? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna mute everyone. Oh no, and it's okay. It came and it went. Go ahead, Alistair.
Yes, and I think what really strikes me in your telling was the bone of the marlin, because the bone acknowledges that he is stronger than death, the old man, and I think that this gives us courage to fight against whatever we are fighting against in our lives. I thought of you, Eric, and your fight against the diminishing arts program at your school. Don't give up. Never give up. Remember, Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge.
Yes.
And I cling to that. Thank you for your story. What a lovely reminder of that.
Now, I wonder why Hemingway added that episode at the end that the fisherman was so exhausted he went to sleep, and he did not carefully secure the marlin. So while he was sleeping, sharks came, other animals came and ate the marlin. I wonder why Hemingway added that. And the only thing I can think of is that like if the fisherman when he woke up, when he might have expressed alarm or sadness that the meat of the fish was gone, I would say to him, I would say to Santiago, it doesn't matter. you triumphed. You did what you needed to do, and the fact that the meat went to this party or that party, don't be upset about that. The important thing is you completed your mission.
When you read the original book, I also felt like it could be situations. Maybe he was commenting on situations could be around you in different ways. It could be good or bad. But you were supposed to not give up. Those days when the First World War happened and people were very confused about how life is going to take them, he would have told, maybe he wanted to hint people, situations do happen in and around you, but you just have to keep going. Maybe that could be one of the idea when he said fishes came and eat away the marlin. Could be one of those, yeah.
And it may also be related to the Indian philosophy of that you don't always have to pay attention to the fruits of your labor. The important thing is you did the labor.
Yes. Yeah. Could be, Eric. Yeah. Let's take it. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else, or shall we move on? Wangari, maybe he wanted to prove himself. Yes, he certainly wanted to prove himself, but it seems it was not so important that he secured the fish and made it safe. I don't know what he should have taken it out of the water. He should have brought it up to the boat. He should have done something so that sharks couldn't come and eat it. But he was not concerned about that. He was concerned that he had done what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Eric, I want to add something important. When I was a child, I had a reading disability, and I had that all my life. So I have learned by storytelling, but I never read Hemingway because I managed the reading. So now that I heard the story, and now I love the story because you love the story, I can go back and I can have the patience to read the story and have the meaning in my head already and your words in my head. So now reading it, I will be able to read it original. So thank you very much.
Let it try. Hemingway is pretty easy to read because his sentences are famously very short.
Yes.
But if you can't decode neurologically, no matter how much I tried my whole life, I'm in my 70s, I was never able to read fluently. So now that I heard it fluently and heard your love of it, it will help me to read it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to add one sentence. It's amazing. Mangalam had put in the chat box that the journey is much more interesting than the end poem. And Eric summed it up beautifully that, the work is very exciting, and we really don't wait for the end result according to the Indian culture. In my opinion, also, the journey is very, very exciting, and you said it so nicely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I think now, Parvathy, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me magnify your image. Okay, Parvathy, please introduce yourself fully and tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
I'm Parvathy Eswaran. I live in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu in India. And today I'm going to tell you a story. Before I start the story, let me just tell you a brief about the origin or what I'm going to tell of the story. See, this epic, we have Mahabharata and Ramayana in India, two great epics. And this Mahabharata epic is about the fight between two set of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And my story is set in the final war which took place at a place called Kurukshetra. My protagonists are the grandsire of the two sets of cousins, Kauravas and Pandavas, his name is Pitamaha Bhishma, and Shakuni, the maternal uncle of the Kauravas. So let me get into the story. And I have titled the story, When Vengeance Pretends to Heal, a dialogue in Kurukshetra. This Kurukshetra war, incidentally, was for 18 days. It was the 17th day of the war at Kurukshetra. The fighting had just stopped. The sun was setting. The sky was looking so beautiful with the red and the orange colors. Bhishma Pitamaha was lying on a bed of arrows. Bhishma had a boon which allowed him to choose the time and date of his death. In fact, he had fallen on the 10th day of the war, and at his request, he was laid on a bed of arrows. Bhishma Pitamaha was lying on the bed of arrows, waiting for what? Listening to the wailing of the women of the men who died fighting. For what? The cousins were fighting against each other. For what? Pitamaha Bhishma heard that sound. He felt that all the other war sounds had vanished and only the sound of dice, the sound which caused all this, the sound, the dice in the hands of the man, who was standing before him, the man who caused this war, Shakuni. Bhishma looked at Shakuni. Why? Why, Shakuni? Why? Why not? Why not? Bhishma Pitamaha said, Shakuni. The children, they were innocent. Why did you make them fight against each other? What wrong did they do? The entire Bharat is fighting for this in this war. All the kings have come, maybe barring a few. And they're fighting for what? For dharma. Is this dharma, Shakuni? Dharma? Bhishma Pitamaha, you talk about dharma? Where did your dharma go when you did what you did to me and my family long ago? Shakuni, that is past. Why do you rake up the past now? Past? Isn't that past which is bringing us to this present? What is karma, Pitamaha? The bad deeds or the good deeds you do in the past, that is what makes us today, what we are today in the present. Isn't that karma? Stop it, Shakuni, stop it. I knew I did wrong. But then I thought I was doing everything for my family, for my kingdom. And that I thought was dharma. Again, dharma? You're talking about dharma? Where did your dharma go, oh Pitamaha, when Draupadi was getting disrobed and you looked away? Where did your dharma go, Pitamaha, when so much of injustice was done to Amba? Dharma, you speak of dharma? And you were the cause for putting that seed of vengeance in me. Shakuni, vengeance is poison, and the poison has destroyed my kingdom. My family. Ha! Just like you destroyed my family. Today, I'm going to tell the whole world what you did, Bhishma Pitamaha. Bhishma looked at Shakuni, helpless, pinned on the bed of arrows. Helpless. Today, I'm going to tell the world what you did to me and my family. My father, King Savala, was the king of the big Gandhara kingdom. We were 100 sons and a beautiful, lovely, intelligent, brave daughter, Gandhari. And Gandhari, she's so beautiful. Kings came from far and wide seeking her hand. But then my father, King Subala, was thrilled when you, Pitamaha, came seeking her hand for the blind king Dhritarashtra of the great kingdom Hastinapuram. But I was angry. I was outraged. How, my beautiful sister to a blind king? But then I was the youngest. Who would listen to me? Nobody listened to me. My sister Gandhari was wedded to the king, blind king Dhritarashtra. She blindly followed him, blindfolded. Things would have remained normal and smooth if you had not, Pitamaha, you had not heard that story of what my foolish father did. Yes, he was foolish. And so were you, Pitamaha, for believing everything. You were equally foolish. The astrologers who saw the horoscope of my sister Gandhari said she would be married twice. The first husband would die and she would marry again the second time. A widow remarriage? It was unheard of then. My father was distraught. His daughter, his beautiful daughter. What can I do? I don't know who gave this brilliant idea to my father, my foolish father. And you know what my father did? You know that. Let me tell the world. My father gave Gandhari in marriage to a goat. Goat. And then he killed the goat. Technically, my sister was wedded and now had become a widow. Technically. And she got married to King Dhritarashtra. And you, Bhishma, you thought and you felt deceived. A widow being my daughter-in-law? My daughter-in-law? She's come to my kingdom, a widow, as a bride? You could not forgive my father. Wasn't that only a goat? It was a goat after all. But no, you were angry. And let me tell you, you are not angry. I think it was your ego which was hurt. You decided to teach a lesson to King Suval. You called us to your Hastinapura. And what a hospitality. You have to see to believe it. People raved about it. Gandhari was mighty thrilled that her matron, her parent, her brothers were all given such royal treatment. But then, what did you do? You put us in a dungeon. A dungeon. Your dharma would not allow you to kill us directly. Neither your dharma allowed you to not give us food. We had to be fed. So you put us in a dungeon, the 101 of us. And Every day you gave a fistful of rice. A fistful of rice for 101 able-bodied men? My father was furious, humiliated. He called the 100 of us and said, "We are anyway going to die of starvation. But I want one intelligent son of mine to remain alive and avenge this death and humiliation and seek retribution from Bhishma Pitamaha by destroying his kingdom, his family. And I choose you, Shakuni, the youngest and the most intelligent, to eat whatever food is given and keep yourself alive. I, the chosen one, Shakuni, had to eat the food which was given just to keep myself alive. Watching my brothers die one by one. On his deathbed, my father called me, "Shakuni, come here." I went near him. He picked up a staff and hit my ankle. Ha! I howled with pain, hearing the bones of my ankle breaking. He said, "You are going to limp henceforth." Yes, even today I limp. And you will, every time you limp and have the pain, you will remember that you have to avenge our death and humiliation. And thus, I came to stay in Hastinapura with my sister, your kingdom, with my nephews, the 100 Kauravas, and became friends with them and plotted your destruction. That is what I did. Really. Oh, Shakuni, you destroyed my entire kingdom. Yes, justice prevailed. And how did I do that? My father said his bones in his fingers had all the rage. He asked me to make dice out of it, out of these bones, because I love to play the dice. And he said, these dice will listen to whatever you say and will take whichever direction you want. So you will never, ever lose in a game of dice. That's what I did, Pitamaha. I knew there was another person who had a weakness for gambling, and that was the eldest son, the Pandavas, Yudhishthira. Called him for a game of dice, and yes, today this war happened and destruction has happened. Ha! Justice prevailed. Oh, Shakuni, with these dice, you betrayed Dharma. You shackled the Pandavas and you fed hatred to Duryodhana until he drowned in it. And this revenge is sweet. Every throw of my dice was a wound for you, for Hastinapura, and for the vow you worship more than justice, Bhishma. So saying, Shakuni walked away. Bhishma struggled to rise up, but he was pinned by the arrows. Oh, Shakuni, tell me, did vengeance heal you? Did this vengeance ease your pain of the dungeon? Oh, Shakuni, that is the curse of vengeance. It pretends to heal, but it never does. It is fire, Shakuni. It warms you for a moment and then burns you, burns all you love, and all you will be left will be just ashes. Helpless, Bhishma looked up to the sky and said, maybe to us, O children of time, remember this. True healing lies not in striking back. True healing lies in ending the cycle before it ends you. Revenge is sweet, but it leaves a bitter aftertaste. In Kurukshetra, the night had set in. Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, waiting for what? Listening to the faint sound of the dice in the hands of the man walking away, maybe thinking of what? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wonderfully told. Anyone have any thoughts? I see a lot of graphic expressions. Any verbal thoughts?
Well, I think this story should be told and performed in the Ukraine and in Gaza and in Israel, because it is so important to the current state of play or war in the world today. I just thank you for such masterful telling. I was very fortunate to have encountered the Mahabharata when Peter Brook did his infamous production at the Brooklyn Academy of Arts with Richard Shislak interpreting the role of Dhritarashtra, the blind king. And that performance will stay with me as long as I live. So thank you for reconnecting me to the Mahabharata and its wisdom.
Thank you.
How many years ago was that, Alistair? Many years.
I will not say.
So
I believe it was in 1986, in fact.
So, Parvathy, what really drew you to that story? Did you relate to it personally?
No. It was not something, but generally I always felt that people think that when you strike back, it gives you a good feeling, or rather that wound has healed. But that's why I wanted to tell that it is not so. When you give it up, or that is the time you get healed, rather than go behind the person or the wound again and again. You get hurt more and more, is what I felt. I mean, I'm not a psychologist or anything such. It's just a thought I had. And this is a story I loved. Yeah. And one more thing I would like to say, it was this particular story was not there in the original Mahabharata. That's what I heard. It's part of the folklore, the story behind why Shakuni behaved the way he behaved. Yeah.
Barry, then Susan Ida.
Yes, hi, Parvathy. I just want to say hello. It's so nice to see you.
Yeah.
And also, I really appreciated, and people put this in the chat, your animation, your use of gesture, your connection with the camera. You were just very, very present and alive and so animated. And it really so effective. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the line that will stay with me is revenge is sweet, but leaves a bitter aftertaste.
Yeah.
It's a very good line.
Thank you. It's my imaginary dialogue between the two protagonists. It is something which I imagine would have happened, could have happened. So it's yeah.
Well, you're a wonderful actor. and you integrate it with storytelling in a fantastic way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's proceed. Now, Nyana, we're seeing either the sunset or the sundown on your camera. There you are. Yeah, we want to see you. We don't want to see the sun. All right. So, Karin, are you ready? All right, let me
Yes.
magnify your image. Karin, please introduce yourself fully. Tell us about your work and please tell us a story.
Yes, my name is Karin Wedra and I'm from Germany. And I'm a storyteller. And the longer I tell stories, the more I have the question, when does reality stops and a fairy tale begin? And that's the thought of my story. Because as I was a child, I had a grandma. And I think this is an international law. If you're at your granny's home, you can make much more nonsense than at home. You can eat more sweets, watch a little bit longer TV, and play louder. And always in the afternoon, I climbed onto the sofa and my grandmother wrapped me into a blanket. And I was very close to her. And then, all the time, if I visited her, we had a fairy tale hour. And then she told me in the first step of her village, because she grew up in the mountains, and the village was on the top of the mountains, where giants live. Once I've been there in the woods in the winter, and the snow is so high you can't even go through. And if it's night, the little trees in the woods are full of snow. And if the moonlight comes down to these little trees, you believe you see small gnomes. And in this village, my grandma grows up. And of course, she knows a lot of myth and legends of the old gods and goddesses, of Odin with his wild hunt. And if the wild hunt galloped across the land with the horses in the winter, don't go out, because one of them will catch you and take you with them if you want or not. And then the tall, beautiful woman, the goddess Hulda, she's a beautiful lady, and in winter time, she went with her followers from farm to farm. She blesses the earth that it will come fruit in the next year. She blesses the animals that they're healthy. And she blesses the families that there's peace in the families. She protects the woman and the little children. And if a baby dies very early, she takes the baby with her in her beautiful land. And all these stories my grandmother told me. And the last story she told me was always the same. Maybe you know it. Children like to repeat the stories, and that the last fairy tale should always be the same. It's the fairy tale of Grimm, the brothers Grimm from Mrs. Hulder, and it starts with the word, once upon a time there was a widow and she had 2 daughters. One daughter was beautiful and she was working hard and was polite, and the other one was ugly. She don't like to work. It was unpolite. But the widow liked the ugly one more because she was her right daughter, and the beauty one was only the stepdaughter. This is how the story began. And then, by accident or by faith, the beauty one fell into the well and woke up in the land of Mrs. Hulda, the goddess. Yes, and the land is beautiful there. The grass is green and flowers everywhere. And you have to pass some tests to come to the house. You have to shake the trees, put the bread out of the oven, and then the little girl came to the house. And she looked to the window, and an old woman looked up with big eyes and big teeth. And the little girl, the beauty girl, was scared. But the old woman says, "Don't be afraid, my dear. If you work hard, you will have a good time in my house. I am Mrs. Hulda. But you have to shake the pillows, because then it'll snow on earth." Yes, Mrs. Hulda, the goddess, also makes the weather, is responsible for the nature. And on this point of the story, I got curious as a little girl because I really want to know more about the goddess. And I asked my grandmother, does she has a pet? And my granny knows it. Does she like cakes? She knows the answer. Which flowers she likes the most? Granny knows it. And of course, I'm sure till today, my grandmother knows Mrs. Hulda in person. And always, if the fairy tales ends, she said to me, "My little one, if I will die, I go to the land of Mrs. Hulda, and I knock on the door, and then I will shake the pillows, then it will have snow on earth." Yes, time went by, and I grew up, and my grandmothers get old, and she died. And it was such a sad day for my family. We went to the apartment, and my grandfather sat in the kitchen, and he just said one thing: "My little Annie is gone. My little loving Annie is gone." That was her name. We can't leave him in the apartment, so we took him to our house. And maybe everyone who prepared a funeral knows it. There are sad days, but you have to go to the telephone to call the friends and the family. The priests come, and my mother talked with them. And it was April. It was springtime. The flowers came up. And on the day of the funeral, we stood at the grave. It starts to snow on a spring day. And the snowflakes, they were so big. And we looked to the heaven, and we had a little smile in our face because we knew our grandma is fine. And every time in the winter, if it snows, I look out at the window and remember all the fairy tales and the old legends of Odin and Hulda. And I know how important it is that one grandma told it to the granddaughter, all the stories, because now I can tell you all the stories.
Okay, thank you so much. Very beautiful. in the apartment building my wife and I live in, our neighbor, they were a very senior couple, and about 6 months ago he passed away. And when my wife and I were visiting with his wife, she said something similar. She said he went away, and it was just so sad. And your story reminded me of that. But sometimes people can speak in such a simple way, but it communicates everything. And of course, your story reminds us that nobody ever goes completely away, as long as we have them in our heart. And poetically speaking, they're in nature. There's stories about how when people pass away, they become stars. So we like to think poetically like that people get embedded in nature even after they pass away. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
I thought about my grandmother, and I want to thank you for that, because I think the power of the grandmothers are so huge and so full of I don't know the word in English, but it's meaning for us as granddaughters, and it was amazing. And thank you so much. It was a great story. Thank you.
Karin, you may know that here in India, folk tales generally are called grandmother stories.
Really?
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's not fair, because what about the grandfathers? But it's true. Mostly the storytellers, many of the storytellers are grandmothers. Judith?
There. I think it's because grandfathers are busy doing other things and grandmothers are the caregivers. But I wanted to say, great telling, Karin, that
Thanks.
I was just there with you in your grandmother's living room and hearing the story, even though you didn't tell us the whole entire story, the way you braided Frau Holle with your experience of your grandmother was just magnificent. Wonderful telling.
Excuse me for being a party pooper, but can I request people not to have hearts and other graphics floating around the screen? To me, it's a little distracting, and I don't know who it's coming from. So if you want to do it on your own, in your own rectangle. But I request don't send it all around to all of us. Forgive me for even saying anything about that. Nyana, go ahead.
Yes, hi, thank you, Karin. That was absolutely beautiful. And I want to ask you about your process. How did you braid the way you did? How did you tell us the fairy tale, but tell us how and while you were listening to it?
And it is, as my grandma died, we all recognize there must be a connection to Mrs. Hulder. It's so a kind of family secret, maybe. And there are some years passes by till I was able to tell the story, because it was too close. So I need 5, 6, 7 years that I was able to tell the story. And now years went by, so it's okay now. But I need time, yes.
Thank you.
The scholar in me wants to add that many of the classic fairy tales contain references, characters relating to goddesses, because many of the fairy tales came into being after Christianity was implemented as the state religion all over Europe. And so people had their stories about goddesses, and they loved their goddesses, and they loved the stories. So many of the stories were recycled into fairy tales, especially the Mother Hulda stories.
Yes.
I think for me, Karen, what your story did for me was to remember that stories are powerful in that they open portals, tears in the fabric of reality, between ourselves and our ancestors, between ourselves and the divine, between time present and time future or past. And without the ability to recognize that these portals exist, I think our freedom is diminished as human beings. And I think that's another argument for you, Eric, why the arts are important in your school.
Susanita?
I enjoyed the images that you brought into my mind, and also, like others have shared, in terms of my own grandmother and being with her as she's reading the stories. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thanks.
Oh, Raji, your microphone has to come on.
Karin, I love the way you said how your grandmother tucked you onto the sofa and how you slept and imagined stories. That was wonderful. It was beautiful expressions, the way you said. Your modulation was really good. I enjoyed thoroughly.
Thanks. Thank you.
We're really getting a clinic tonight in storytelling and communicating. Barry?
Yes, Karen, I just want to say, and I know this is just a side thing, but you just look wonderful. You're just the way you're presenting on Zoom. It's something I think that we all, deal with and wrestle with, our lighting and how we, costume ourselves and how we position ourselves and how we connect with the camera. And you are just so spot on, just so wonderful to watch.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Storytelling is so much about relationship, the relationship between the teller and the listener. And of course, Zoom is not the same as being in the same room with people. But if you look into the camera, you really give the sense to your listeners that you're making eye contact and speaking to each and every listener.
And Eric, I think we've all learned this, that even though we're so far away, sometimes Zoom can feel much more intimate because we are all right in the front row.
Yes.
Whereas if this had been in a big auditorium, Karen would be way off in the distance if I were in the back row. So this
is
very intimate.
As tragic and destructive as the pandemic was, and in so many ways for so many people, it has been a tremendous boon for a lot of storytellers and story listeners. We're living in post-pandemic times, but I call it the Zoom pandemic because it ushered in widespread use of video conferencing, which I don't think we'll ever go back. Although, of course, we're going to have live, physically present events also. This is no substitute, but it certainly has its strong points. Okay. Now, Saujanya, you're going to tell us a personal story titled Reset, Rebuild, Rise, How I Took My Life Back.
Yes,
and I want to know because I want to take my life back. I feel my life is a little taken away from me these days. And I'm really looking forward to how you did it. So please, just a moment, we're going to magnify your image. Yes, please introduce yourself fully. Please tell us about your work and please tell us a story.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Clear?
Yes,
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Okay. I'm Naga Saujanya Yellisetti from Hyderabad, India. As a profession, I'm a project management professional, and by passion, I'm a storyteller. I tell stories in different jargons. My main storytelling is on mythology, Indian mythology, where mythology I'll club into the corporate storytelling. But today, a completely different type of storytelling I am delivering here. And in this story, I'm the queen. I'm queen of this kingdom of grit. It's my personal story, but it is in bits and pieces from 100 doubts to 1,000 inspirations. How enmity and demotivations fueled my life to achieve. So once upon a time, not in a fairy tale, what we just discussed, but in a real small kingdom of small town called Eluru, a little girl was born. But wait, the queen's mother was expecting a prince. The royal palace already had a darling princess, and there wasn't much room for another girl. So when this second princess arrived, bold and full of spark, there were no royal drums, no flavors, no celebrations. Instead, the court whispered, "Oh, another girl! Oh no!" And just like that, the tiny princess grew up in the shadows. That's me. She was loved in bits and pieces, just enough to survive, but never enough to shine. And she developed a secret enemy due to lack of that expectation on her being a girl, and her expectation is to be a boy kind of achievements. And her mother always sees why she's a girl, why not a boy, as she expected a boy after her first daughter. And she developed a scary enemy, night and dragons in the form of bedwetting. And every time she traveled to new lands, out of the house, she was banished to sleep alone in the bed. But here is the twist. This was no ordinary girl. She wasn't waiting for the prince or a rescuer. She was training in the silence, in the darkness, the secret. She slayed her inner dragons one by one, and year later she could able to take her teacher help, who told you train your mind, everything forms in your mind, train your mind. And she could able to train her mind to control her own self. And she made a full stop to whoever said she can't even help her own. How can she be a achiever in future? There are many voices around her, but she could able to train her mind and set her problem down. She helped other little knights and princes to the same. And now she became the dragon tamer of that shame once she faced. One day, her father said the fire in her childhood. "You are no ordinary girl," he said. "You're my little warrior." And so he trained in the art of sports, leadership. And in India, there is a little army called NCC. It's not an actual army, but it is like a sub army, NCC. She ran with every day, she ran 6 kilometers daily to train herself, and she participated with 100 boys in the contest, and she always stood in the second or third with it, running along with the boys. Her sword of determination sharpened than any of theirs. She stood among them, not as a girl, but as a generally they all respected. That again, one more doubt came up. The doctor once warned her father, her right foot is not straight. She might never become an athlete. Oh, but they didn't know she came from the long line of stubborn queens. Now, she again gone through the physiotherapies and all, and she became a marathon runner. She went on a play, state level basketball player, winner of the cross country gold medalist, and she seek the attention of all the school sports team. And during the NCC selections in India, in the Republic Day parade, it's a very prestigious parade in India where across the country they select few people, few children from the different schools and colleges, and they march in the 26th parade. That's called Republic Day. For that trials where the candidates were getting selected, then this little prince from a small Telugu speaking village didn't even know what is that Rajpath mean at the time. At her first trial, she marched like a confused crab. Left leg, left hand. Right leg, right hand. Then everybody laughed. The royal court laughed. She's a joke, they said. But again, the warrior in her mind, the princess, didn't cry. She tried harder, took help from the wise marching wizard, one instructor. Every time when she's in a trouble, when she seeks the help from her mind, the help comes from the other person who comes as a teacher, as a trainer, as someone, the God, the divine power sends a positive vibe and in a some form, and that help she's always getting. And boom, not only did she get selected, she led the entire contingent, not once, it is a twice. It's a miracle. She marched at the Rajpath right in front of the Prime Minister, wearing her disciplined best cadet medal like an armor. The doubters silenced, the dragons defeated, but the kingdom never reset. The moment she returned from glory, her teachers worried. She missed too much in the school. Can't she even pass her schooling? Well, the warrior in her sharp quill studied for 15 days and passed her first class honor, and all the mics dropped. Then came a big twist in her life, worth of any epic. And this young queen got married very early. She dreamed of becoming a police officer, and the early marriage life didn't support it. What if she becomes a police officer? What if she's a powerful woman? She becomes a powerful woman. So the mission, demotivation started around her. Council got the work. They exiled her to the outskirts of the city. But she struggled, made her mind. She traveled every day 80 kilometers every day for the coaching. But they thought, these women, we can't stop if we are here. So they took me to different state. So all the possible demotivation missions were and imported on me. And not impressed, they changed places. So finally, I worked as a small cashier earning 1200 rupees. That's in 2015, 2005. So after 15 years of painful married life and all, and at my life, I restarted at 40. And now my salary was increased and I was doing more than 120 times. After 15 years of that painful life, every queen faced her darkest night. I faced the darkest nights. Her marriage was broken. She was left alone with young prince to rise. No royal income, no degree. Her own uncle said, boys raised without a king becomes a spoiled child or a thief or somebody. What was the final battle call? She rose again like a phoenix. She studied by working and earning for the family. She tried again with two parents staying with her. She studied late in the nights, completed her post-graduation in analytics and operations and her MBA and many global certifications like PMP, DASSM. And guess what? Now her income grew more than 120 times in 9 years without jumping kingdoms. She bloomed right where she was rooted. and I worked for one company. I believe in bloom where you are. And I trained more than 200 people and placed them all over the world. And today, my son, my young prince, is preparing for his defense exams, ready to serve the kingdom. And as a child, I always in our house there is a wallpaper where Niagara Falls was there on the calendar. That is on my birthday month. There's Niagara Falls was there. I saved it, folded it, and I kept it and added in my bucket list. Someday I want to see it in a real. The kingdom loved. At that time, they loved. Dream big. Marry an NRI. But this queen didn't wait for a visa prince. She earned her own wings, took a sole business trip, and stood before the mighty falls, not as a tourist, but as a self-made empress. Let's talk about the beauty. In my teens, I always used to feel I'm a beautiful, tall, young girl, zero size, graceful, radiant. But critics said, again a doubt, you're too thin. Your teeth are slanted. Ramp walk isn't for you. Well, guess what? In 2025, I walked on the ramp as a finalist for the Mrs. India International Queen, not just to show my face, but to remind the world that real beauty begins when you decided to be yourself. Today, I'm Naga Saujanya, was spoke on the global stages, Las Vegas, I visited Atlanta, represented India, delivering 100 talks, led over 650 ERP projects and managed 60 plus professionals as a director at the PMI Hyderabad chapter, and 14,000 plus voluntary hours were contributed towards the social impact and impacted more than 15,000 lives as a director and youth and social impact, contributed to UN SDG goals. This one shy village girl educated in Telugu medium, that's a regional language, was told English is not just cup of your tea. Today, I was in front of you telling my story in English. So here what I want to tell every princess, warrior or empress out there, you're never too old to rewrite your story. You're not here to fit in someone's castle. You're here to build your own kingdom. Because two queens don't wait to be crowned. They picked up their sword of purpose, wear their scars like jewels. They didn't just survive the storm. I became it. 100 people doubted me. They just made me 100 grams stronger every time every doubt came up. And that's why they call me Sauji. In Hindi, it is 100. G means G, that's 100 grams, the queen of grit. That's my story. They said I wasn't enough. They said I wasn't right. They said I wasn't strong, but I turned a no into my next opportunity. To everyone, every underdog, every doubtful soul, you are never too old to dream, never too broken to heal, never too late to rise. That's my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And they never beat drums for me. Now I'm beating the drums.
Wonderful. Yes, it's really true. Beauty comes from within. And Karin, I wanted to also mention about the Mother Holder story you were telling. You mentioned there were two sisters. One was beautiful and the other one was ugly. But the beauty was a result of her character. She had a beautiful character, and in fairy tales, as a result, you have a beautiful body. If you have an ugly character, you have an ugly body. That's the way symbolism works in fairy tales. But regarding the story we just heard, Saujanya, what would you say was really the turning point in that story?
Yeah, the turning point is that after 15 years of married life, where I left all my previous childhood achievements and settled as a housewife. And with the painful that married life, I was just doing a small work just supporting the family. But suddenly the separation is a turning point. It's just 9 years back that separation again because of see, I want to say that when a childhood, when you get an encouragement, when you are into sports or any strong activities, that gives a lifelong strength to your life. So those activities, my running, sports, and the NCC gave me a strength to rebuild my life. And I'm just a commerce graduate when I separated, but then I completed my PG, and most of Americans, you know about the PMP, right? I did my PMP. I was a project management professional. I represented in the global stages as a speaker. Uh, so all these achieved in last 8-9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the turning point, at that point, there is two routes. Whether you want to step ahead and take a route where success is there, and of course, success is a milestone. It's a you need to go for a next milestone. It is not a constant. Success is not a constant. So milestones. Whether you want to go into that, or you will be demotivated and stay disappointed, or you go for a second marriage or second opportunity in a different personal life. So I chosen my professional life as my career, and I was here today.
Wonderful. Anybody, any other thoughts, questions, comments? So you really you sort of blended the two of your regular of your true life and sort of a fairy tale. You combine the two.
Yeah, I narrated in a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay. Shall we proceed to the final storyteller of the day? Okay, thank you very much, Saujanya. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but I'm doing the best I can. So Saujanya, yes?
Yes, Saujanya.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Okay, Dennis, I can pronounce your name pretty well. Dennis, are you ready?
I am as ready as I can be, I think.
All
Yes.
right, and you're in Texas. What part of Texas are you in?
A smaller town called Midlothian, but about 20 miles south of Dallas. That what they call the Metroplex. 8.8 million people crammed into this mess called
Uh-huh.
Dallas.
Okay, and it's not too early in the morning, I hope.
Oh no, it's now 9 a.m.
Oh, well. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm going to magnify your image.
That's scary.
Well, okay, so please introduce yourself fully. Tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm just a kid from St. Louis trapped in an old man's body. I'm a dual national, Ireland and the US. I'm not really a storyteller. I just tell stories.
Uh,
I've been blessed to have lived and worked on 3 continents and to have gotten to know just a horde of amazing people. And I love to tell others about them. But this story, which is totally true, is about me, and I call it my PhD. So please bear with me and, have a drink if you drink, whatever it takes. I'm an Irish guy. I'm not drinking, no, it's too early in the morning for that. So here we go. Ever since I was small, I have loved silence, stillness, solitude. My parents told me that I didn't speak until I was 3 years old, and even then only under duress. I was raised Catholic, attended all Catholic schools. When I was old enough, I became an altar boy and later joined the choir. I loved to sing, especially Gregorian chant. I used to go into our church to sit and to smell the faint odor of the burnt beeswax candles and incense, and to listen to the silence, which at times seemed to echo in the absence of other sound. I made the decision when I was 10 or 12 to become a missionary priest, and against my parents' wishes, I started high school in a monastery in the mountains of the Northeast. Everything I loved about life was there. Long hours spent on my own in a dark chapel, communal meals taken mostly in silence, work duties performed often alone. I was in the choir and the schola, a select group of 10 who rehearsed for any special occasions which might come along. I left the monastery after only 2 years. The onset of puberty made celibacy, which is required of Catholic priests, seem absolutely not right for me. So I finished high school back at home, went on to college, worked, studied, dated. And by the summer of 1969, I had visions of a very different kind of life. I was madly in love. I hoped one day to earn a PhD, to marry, but instead I was drafted into the Army with a degree in hand and a war on Vietnam. At 22 years old, I was still such a child inside. Basic training was like an alien planet. We were cursed at loudly and often, ordered to scream our answers in reply. Days full of physical stress, calisthenics, forced marches, long runs in combat boots with heavy packs on our backs and steel helmets on our heads. We learned to throw hand grenades, shoot M16s, crawl with rifles cradled in our arms under barbed wire with machine guns firing over our head, and to tolerate the constant filth and stench. But we sang. Oh, good Lord, did we sing. Whenever we marched, we were ordered to sing as loudly as we could, and I loved it. The rhythm, the beat, the stamping of feet, even the words, which were often so stupid, made the rest of it seem kind of okay. Until that day on the bayonet practice field. That single day changed the trajectory of my entire life. And so the field was set up like an archery range, but instead of targets, there were these wooden frames, each the height of a man, with torsos made of firm, thick, dense rubber. Each squad was lined up in front of a frame and with bayonets attached to our M16s. At the sergeant's command, we were ordered to run as fast as we could, one by one, and bury our bayonets into the chest of the enemy ahead. And we had to yell kill the entire time. Well, as I waited in line, I realized deep down inside, I did not want to kill anyone. The thought of yelling kill and shoving that long steel blade into the chest of someone real? No. Well, my anxiety grew as I waited my turn. Then there I was in front of the line. The sergeant signaled. I ran. I shoved my bayonet into the rubber torso of that wooden frame man, but I never uttered a sound. Well, the sergeant blew this piercingly loud whistle, ordered everybody on the field to stop, charged over to me, and with our noses just inches apart, screamed, "The hell do you think you're doing, soldier? Get back in that line and do it again, and this time you had better yell kill or else." I I was frozen with fear. I couldn't move. It seemed like forever, him glaring at me and me avoiding his gaze. Um, Finally, I said in a frightened, feeble voice, "No." "No what, soldier?" he bellowed. "No, Sergeant, I won't yell kill." I had never defied authority in my entire life. I didn't know what would happen next, but he ordered me to say it again, only louder this time. So I took all the courage I could find and finally said, louder as he wished, no, Sergeant, I won't yell kill. I don't want to kill anyone. Well, he went wild with rage. Drop down now, soldier, and give me 60. Push-ups is what he meant. I didn't move. Now, I said. I did all I could, 20 or less, and then strangely, he seemed to relent. He ordered me to step aside, let all the other soldiers pass me by, and he never called on me again. Well, the next day I was ordered to see the chaplain. He was an army captain. He happened to be a Catholic priest, which I felt a bit of relief with because I was sure he would understand. So after a few pleasantries, he asked me why I refused to yell kill and why I didn't want to kill anyone. And I started to explain, but immediately realized I didn't know why. It wasn't a thought that I had or a decision I had made. It welled up from something deep down inside. Well, then he said that the Army didn't accept lame excuses like politics or religious scruples, uh, but then added in a reassuring tone, but it's okay to kill in a just war. A just war? What the hell was that? And who gets to decide? I asked. Well, after a while, he said, the state. Well, I don't know what he said next. My mind went numb. I knew in my heart he had to be wrong. Well, after a bit, he asked me if I was refusing to do all military service, and I said, no, I just don't want to kill anyone. And he said he understood. There was nothing he could do, and I was dismissed. Well, basic training continued just as before. In the end, we were all assigned to advanced training, which effectively became our jobs. Many went to infantry, some to artillery. One was a cook, one a truck driver, a couple of clerks. Most I never knew what their assignments were. Me, I was to become a medic. A medic. Ah, my heart leapt for joy. I don't know who had had a hand in it, if anyone, or maybe it was just fate, but this was the answer to a prayer I had never prayed. And yeah, then they told me that medics had the highest casualty rates in Vietnam, and that worried me, yes, but more important than that was this. I would not have to carry a gun, and I would not have to kill anyone. In fact, or so I thought, if I learned all I could and did my job as well as I hoped I would, I might be able to save someone. And that felt so good inside. Well, in medical training, I read a book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. In it, Frankl wrote that we can't control the circumstances that come our way. I didn't choose to be in the Army. I hadn't chosen to be on the bayonet practice field that day. But Frankl also wrote that we are all always free to respond to the circumstances, that we are free to decide what we do and we say in response to those things. And I realized I was then, and I am still to this day, the person I choose to be. And yeah, there can be consequences. There can be a price to be paid, but no one is ever to blame for anything I do or say but me. Well, in 1971, my tour was over and I was sent home. And but what took root on the bayonet practice field that day has never gone away. madly in love. Good Lord. A Dear John letter had ended all that in basic training. A PhD, well, it's still on my to-do list, but at almost 79, I'm not holding my breath. But I also learned something incredibly important that day, something about life, something, especially something about me. So maybe, just maybe, that is my PhD. I still stop in churches now and then. I'm not religious. You know, maybe I never really have been, but I still find a certain kind of peace in them. When my own time comes, I think I'll be okay. So, Chennai in Irish, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for putting up with that bit of personal nonsense.
I also earned a PhD, and I'm very aware that every PhD has a big story that goes along with it, whether it's a formal PhD or the kind of PhD you told us about.
Yeah.
I guess a PhD, you're using a PhD metaphorically as an experience that really expressed and defined yourself.
Yeah, that kind of is why I ended up calling it that. I had applied over the years, I've applied and was accepted into two different doctoral programs, but I never attended either. One was in anthropology, and which I love, and the other was in theater, which I also love. But at the end of the day, I just I don't know. I guess I just felt I didn't have the discipline and the commitment. I didn't feel academic. I just felt like life was calling me. So, as I often said, I followed my nose wherever I could and wherever it took me. And so I've lived in the Middle East and Europe and of course in America, and I've studied lots of languages and lots of religions, um, and I just find life and people to be very enriching. So I don't know what I would get in school that I haven't already gotten. And I'm sure it would be a lot, but hey.
Anybody? Any thoughts?
Well, Dennis, if it were still in my power, I would award you a PhD for that story.
Golly. I'll take it. Matchbook covers are fine. Whatever, you know. Thank
I
you all.
wanted to ask if you enjoy writing.
Oh, I love to write. I got into theater via playwriting, and I still write plays. That was in 2009. Officially retired in 2009, and took up playwriting. I'm not an actor. I probably didn't need to say that, but I direct and write plays, and I love like the candle to my side, you know. I love the notion of a dark black box theater and with just a candle in it, and a single person walks in through the dark, and the whole audience is riveted on this person. So what they say, whether it's one word or they give an oration, has the power to move the world. And
Well,
I
Dennis, I
love
was
that.
riveted in your story from start to finish, and I wondered if you had thought about turning your story into a play.
I no, I never have. It's interesting that you say that, but no, I've used and written about other people's lives, and a lot. As I said in the very beginning, I've met a lot of amazing people, and I love telling their stories. They're uh, just ordinary people, but there is no such thing in my mind as an ordinary person. Everyone is got something and has been somewhere and has been challenged and has loves and dislikes and on and on and on and it's like I said in the beginning, I'm just a guy from St. Louis.
Well, may I
That's
say that, Dennis, I think your story needs to be told.
Yes. Yes. And I think it needs to be written and performed. I actually know an audience. I live in Massachusetts, and the University of Massachusetts in Lowell, there's a woman and a program there in peace studies. And that's the title of the program. I don't know more about it, but I know someone who's been doing that program for 30 years, and her students need to hear that story. And you are more than a storyteller, you're carrying on an oral tradition. So thank you.
well, thank you for saying that.
As a
I
22-year-old, you stood up against a sergeant. I mean, that really is something really amazing.
That was a very risky move.
Yeah,
He
how
could
you
have,
could stand him against.
no, he could have smashed your head with the butt of a rifle.
Yeah,
my biggest fear
amazing.
was that I was really scared of being put in the stockade, which is what the Army called jail.
Hmm.
I figured, well, I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm probably going to jail. And that my father was a lawyer and a judge, and it's like, and I'm going to jail, it's like I was scared. I was really petrified. And
I understand.
Well, you obviously were not military material.
yeah, that's a fact. You had to see the re-enlistment officer on your processing out, and we both laughed.
Maybe Dennis, your inner voice saved you. Your inner voice saved you.
Pardon?
Your inner voice saved you. That
Your,
particular.
Oh,
your inner voice saved your soul, but your
yes,
physical body was at great risk.
Yeah,
yes, yes,
amazing.
yes. It's funny. Well, this goes back to the playwriting thing, but I love Samuel Beckett's, particularly his shorter plays, and I have had occasion over the last several months to work with people from two indigenous American nations, translating one of his plays into their languages, and hopefully next year actually helping to direct performing them on the reservations. And the process of that, the discussions, the translations from English to Ojibwe and English to Potawatomi, and the cultural translations are even richer and more intriguing than the linguistic translations. It's just and the reason I bring it up is because there's an Irish expression in Irish when someone dies, it's called Er Shlína Feirne. That means on the way of truth. And that so resonates with the Native American sense of, and the Sami sense of that we're from a spirit, a part of a great spirit. And yes, the body may die, but we don't. We go on. And I've often wondered on that way of truth. Do you meet other people? Do you have conversations? Like, just that's something I do want to write a play about. Anyway, thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you. And I feel that five PhDs in storytelling have been presented to us tonight
Thank
Well,
you.
or this morning.
I agree with four. I don't know about the fifth.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Does anyone else want to say anything, or shall we hang up?
I just want to thank you, Eric, for allowing this and organizing this and this international thing and people with such talent and stories and whatnot. you deserve a something, Eric. I don't know what it
Thank
is.
you. Well, my background really is in theater also. I grew up right next to Broadway. My father was a theater critic and a frustrated playwright. And he took me to the theater, and I share your love of a black space and then the lights coming up on someone or something. So I do this series and the festival in February as my contribution to the theater.
Well, it's a wonderful
Dennis,
contribution.
are you going to
Yeah.
come to the festival? Are you going to tell your story or a story at the festival this February?
Diana, we already have like a zillion storytellers, but
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
but anyway, Dennis, I hope we'll all be in touch and we'll work together.
Yes, likewise.
Eric, he can have my spot because I already had a chance.
All right,
No.
we'll work it out.
If you'd like, because I think everybody needs to hear your story.
Well, but keep it on. Go on. I'm good. I'm okay.
Wonderful. Okay, well, no, wait. First, let me stop recording because it's always nice to say goodbye once the recording is stopped. And here we go.